You want to comment?
Well, I think
Citizens Review Board?
I mean, when I look at the issue, whether you're talking about with respect to police brutality, whether you're talking about any aspect of local government, I think that it's critical that the citizens have a very open and active participation with respect to the oversight of all aspects of city government. City government has gotten very large, and you've got a significant portion of the employees within that system who are neither elected or appointed and subject to any kind of scrutiny. And so they're basically unaccountable. And if the citizens aren't there to oversee what it is that they do, then the system goes out of control. And I don't care who the chief executive officer of that government is, that bureaucracy is going to go out of control and by its very nature will abuse the citizens that it was meant to serve.
Okay. Unless we have another caller, Ken had another question for Mr. Jones.
Yeah, Mr. Jones, basically, is it possible to follow the IRS law and yet resist the improper conduct of the IRS at the same time?
Yes, if you have the money to hire a good attorney or a good forensic accountant. And if you don't, you have a problem if you're singled out for audit examination and repeated audits. But there is a way around this. When the previous caller talked about a citizen review board, we need more administrative proceedings to hold accountable people in the federal government as well as hold accountable people in the state government. And they shouldn't have to go through a long process of trying to get a long lawsuit in the United States District Court, which would be bottlenecked with lawsuits, to have their complaints heard or to get reparations for improper treatment. And there needs to be an administrative vehicle set up for people who have to deal with the IRS the same way there needs to be an administrative vehicle set up for citizens' complaints about the police.
I agree.
Okay, unless we have another caller, there's another question to Mr. Jones. Robert, how can the public respond to this conduct from the IRS? You just kind of, in a nutshell, wrapped that up with that last comment. But that's one of the reasons why we're here, to discuss, to dialogue, to share openly these examples of corruption and fraud and the misapplication of laws and rules and procedures that we thought were being applied. You were talking privately before this program on the requirement for there to be some kind of a catalyst for a grassroots type of movement or awareness. We have another caller? Okay.
Well, either or both attorneys, could you please explain the due process problems with respect to when records are altered or destroyed or lost?
With respect to the federal government, the biggest problem that citizens and their attorneys have is the courts don't want to believe that government officials are in fact altering documents, that government officials are in fact backdating documents, that government officials are in fact lying on the witness stand.
When you say the courts,
courts,
the judges, the juries,
the judges don't wish to believe this. And so what happens is the citizen goes in, like Gene did, behind the 8-ball with the odds tipped against them. The only way to change that is through public awareness, through programs such as this, through campaigns with people's Congress people, through their ward leaders in Chicago, and for the public to understand that all the people in government are human beings too, and they're just as susceptible of doing things wrong, of being greedy, of doing things out of pride that they shouldn't do, and of trying to make their job come out right. And if their job, if right is winning instead of doing justice, right will fail a significant portion of the time.
Okay, we have another caller. Go ahead, caller.
Yes, sir. I was calling in regards to, I just tuned in and I missed a lot of good stuff. But what my question was how is the Chapter 7 going to affect the IRS and just people in general?
Chapter 7, can you elaborate?
The new thing that they have, well, they're cutting it out, October 17th or something to that effect. It's either 7 or 13. I know
Bankruptcy.
you guys are all lawyers, so no.
I don't think that had any bearing on the IRS.
First,
anyway.
I'm not a bankruptcy expert, but the major changes in the law that I understand are not dealing with the tax laws and tax obligations. And so I don't see that there will be any significant effect of the relationship between a debtor and the IRS and the bankruptcy law. The problem in the past has been the IRS hasn't been willing to follow the law. And if we can get around that, the relationship should remain the same or maybe be even a little bit better for the citizen.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the changes to the bankruptcy code as a result of the reforms that were implemented, really the greatest impacts are upon the operations of the corporations that made the largest donations to members of Congress to get those changes in place. And the credit card and mortgage industries contributed, I want to say, somewhere in the area of $100 million to get that, get those changes in place. And what they have done is made it significantly more difficult for consumers to, if you will, deal with extreme cases of unsecured debt.
Okay. Ken, you have any questions generally here?
Well, not really. I just think it was a fantastic forum, and I'd like to thank the three gentlemen, the two attorneys, and Gene, of course, for coming in today. And boy, it's just fantastic to get this. And I think the most important thing today is to be bringing this out to the public and using this kind of forum, because it is, as these gentlemen say, our responsibility as the public to educate ourselves and get involved with these kind of forums, to really get involved into the grassroots movement of what we're talking about, to hold those government officials accountable and make sure that that happens over the long term. Otherwise, we're going to be in a serious world of hurt soon. We
got a few more minutes here. And at the end of the show, by the way, before this next caller has a question, we have a presentation. A wonderful young lady will be singing a very touching song in tribute to those who have served and died in action. But caller, go ahead.
Yeah, good morning, gentlemen. It's a very good show today. I wanted to ask a question about, with all the stuff going on in City Hall currently, we've all heard of this group HDO, and now we're finding out they were formed for political reasons by non-Hispanics, and obviously all this, the hiring process later on, they were given favoritism. Is there a way that they could be taken to like a federal court for some type of civil rights violation for diluting the true Hispanic population? Thank you.
Boy, that's an interesting question. I think that there you're going to find that that would be a very, very difficult case to prosecute. I think that the most important thing in looking at whether or not those allegations are in fact true, whether they are true or not, really the implications are that if one small group of politically connected insiders can come in and essentially corrupt the process, it's only because the people are sleeping. The people are assuming that their public representatives are taking care of their interests. And if there's anything that we learn from history, particularly from the founders of this nation, is that the cost of freedom is eternal vigilance on our part. And if we don't do that, we get what we deserve.
Okay, we have another caller. Go ahead.
Yeah, just throw something out there right quick. I mean, is it almost to the point that the government, with taking bribes to cheat the taxpayers out of their money and being congressmen and the House of Representatives, do they actually have no idea that the public is actually watching what they're doing, and are they so insensitive or out of touch with reality that they don't think that there's going to be some type of backlash that may erupt into violence or a revolution in this country? I mean, how long do they think that they can just take taxpayers' hard-earned money and destroy their lives for their own personal gains, just like what you said with taking $100 million in contributions from the credit card companies? who do they think that they are, that they can just let 300 or 400 people knock 300 million people out of the box by being foolish and greedy? How long do they think that this is going to happen? People are buying guns every day, not for their next door neighbor. They better wake up and smell the coffee.
Okay, wow.
It's
Well, not to go down there, but that's why we're having this show.
Can I say something?
In a
Did you have time? Well, the idea is that we got Patrick Fitzgerald here. I doubt if I could ever brought this back again if there wasn't somebody from out of town coming in here.
Got it.
So we'd like him to look into this. One other question I'd like to ask is,